TRT World.
Lo que sería ideal es...
Simon Toubeau is a political scientist at the University of Nottingham and joins me now in the studio. This is quite a sensitive case given the political arguments that we're going to hear. Oriol Junqueras has said it's going to put the Spanish court system under a spotlight. How difficult is it going to be to try this objectively?
Well, the Spanish central government has made a very strong case for not interfering into the judicial process, precisely in order to maintain an image of impartiality and judicial independence. So he has a very difficult task in trying to maintain that image. At the same time, he's under a lot of pressure because his minority government is being supported by a group of Catalan nationalist parties which are also in office in the Catalan government. And they've been trying to press the Prime Minister to, let's say, revise the charges that are being held against the political leaders that organized the referendum and issued the Declaration of Independence. So he has a very difficult political task of balancing, on the one hand, the demands that are coming from the nationalist parties in the Spanish parliament, and on the other hand, maintaining the impartiality of the Spanish judicial system.
And the Prime Minister has been trying to engage in dialogue with Catalan separatists. The whole issue, I mean, the referendum was declared illegal, but the whole issue is still extremely volatile, isn't it?
That's right. The referendum was declared illegal. The unilateral declaration of independence that followed was also declared illegal. So there's a very strong case for charging these leaders. On the other hand, the Catalan nationalist government has maintained the pressure on the Spanish central government to be allowed to organize a referendum on independence and to force the Spanish central government to pass a law which would transfer that authority to the Spanish Catalan government. So the issue is still very much at the heart of the negotiations of this dialogue that you mentioned between the Spanish central government and the Catalan regional government. If you look back a little bit and you inspect the entire political spectrum, you see that this Prime Minister is also under a lot of pressure from other political forces in the parliament, and in particular those on the right, who are maintaining a very strong Spanish nationalist anti-Catalan line and arguing that any kind of concession would lead to the divisibility or the disunity of Spain.
And for that reason, presumably, the rest of Europe is watching what happens in the court very closely.
Yes, they're watching very closely. The situation is being monitored by all political capitals and by the European Council and the Commission and so on. But what we're not seeing is any sort of very clear statement on behalf of those authorities. I think that the European Union is also trying to maintain some kind of diplomatic distance from what are essentially viewed as domestic constitutional affairs, and are deferring to the Spanish Constitution and the Spanish courts to bring about a solution to this crisis.
Simon, could you get your thoughts there? Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Simon Toubeau there. Now, Macedonia is preparing to change its name. Work has begun around the country to replace official signs to new ones bearing the name the Republic of North Macedonia. A flag-raising ceremony has been held at government headquarters in Skopje to mark the step. The Balkan nation is changing its name after reaching a landmark agreement with Greece, which has a neighbouring province called Macedonia. The newly named country is also preparing to join NATO. Francis Collins is in Skopje watching the celebrations, which he says are a huge sign of progress in Macedonia.
This was part of the country that was called Yugoslavia. However, in the early 90s, with the breakup of Yugoslavia, the Republic of Macedonia established independence. Then the United Nations gave a provisional name of the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. But this caused an enormous amount of disquiet with the Greek authorities because, of course, they believed and still believe that this meant that there was some sort of proprietorial claim on their region of Macedonia. Now we can go all the way back to cultural symbols like Alexander the Great and empires of the past. But what has happened now is that with the new government here in Macedonia, North Macedonia as it's been renamed, the government of Zoran Zaev, a rapprochement with Greece has been established. There was an agreement last summer that took place on Lake Prespo in the south of the country, a lake that borders Albania, Macedonia and Greece, and that is now slowly and surely and with a lot of protest being ratified both in this country here in Skopje and also in Athens, that this country will be known as the Republic of North Macedonia. Not everyone is happy, but it does mean that there is progression towards an accession towards NATO and of course towards possibly in the future the European Union, and that's what's happening at the moment. There's going to be a raising of the NATO flag alongside the flag of North Macedonia to symbolise the progression and the way things have moved forward compared to how they were just a few years ago.
Syrian democratic forces are trying to evacuate civilians trapped in the last enclave of Daesh in eastern Syria. At least 24 trucks filled with men, women and children left the town of Baghouz for SDF-held territory. The US-backed coalition said up to 20,000 civilians have fled in the past 10 days. It's believed between 400 and 600 Daesh fighters may be holed up in Baghouz. According to the SDF, fighting could be over in a matter of days if civilians are rescued. Still to come on the programme, a Bahraini footballer back in Australia after months of detention in a Thai prison. And we'll tell you why these polar bears have invaded an island town off Russia.